Hello, how are you doing? Finally. What class do you play? I was struggling a lot because of the stupid worms that were not popping up on time. So like I have to like stay for another like 8 seconds each or something. And then obviously my sentries don't fire right on time either. And yeah, it was just it's worse than the Taurasha one, even though it's easier than the Taurasha one. So anyway, I don't usually play this set anyway, and it's like whatever. Class do you play? Did I mess something up when I switched gear again? It's not supposed to die that slow. Ah, yeah, I forgot to switch something. Ah, nope, not doing Transformers. The character specifically a wizard. Storyline with Okay. Yeah, I do have a hardcore character as well. Still feels so odd. Like I'm using the armory and it's worse than manually replacing stuff. I have my three main gems, but I'm trying to figure out like what I messed up besides the companion. That's cool. Yeah, I love to. My favorite thing to do in Diablo 3 is to gear check. I help people look at their gear and analyze what's wrong. And I also don't really like to use the armory. And for some reason, I'm using the armory now, and I feel worse about it because if you like misreplace something, it's like you don't check it. You just assume everything is correct. And for some odd reason, I have this weird feeling that aside from me misplacing my companion when I was swapping stuff and re-equipping certain things and re-saving, outside of that issue, I feel like I'm missing damage somewhere. Because my 118 is not supposed to be this slow. It's supposed to be 1 minute faster. And when I'm killing stuff, I just don't feel right. But anyway, I love the gear check and help people consider um, what stats they need. It's not just priority stats. It's more like understanding between each slot between each slot that two slots together will kind of connect with one another because they have a similar ability to get, like, let's say, cooldown. So sometimes your unlucky piece may not be able to hold the cooldown, so you have to find the other connecting slot in order to do that. And so I love to like help people understand where they can get what exactly. So it's not just like, oh, look, this slot you should have XYZ. It's more like these two slots, you can take advantage of these two slots combined to hold one or the other so that when you do get the right stuff, it's a bonus to both if they both have the same stats. So, like, for example, gloves and one of your rings. If one of your rings rolled really nice, then your ring can hold the cooldown until your gloves get the cooldown. And then if your gloves get a cooldown on top of your ring being having the cooldown, you either don't need the ring to hold the cooldown anymore, or it's a benefit that you both have it. So you can decide whether each slot needs what, and then you move certain things to take advantage of going towards the end stuff. So you just have to decide. So, like, for example, my ring, I can visually show it. This ring, I don't need more cooldown, so I can flex this to area damage, which is the end stuff. And if I didn't need more cooldown here, I would also go for the end stuff, which is the area damage. So sometimes, like, a glove and a ring will have to work together. I don't just treat each slot individually. I usually connect between one slot to three other, like two other slots. Sometimes I think in like multiple slots at the same time. So that's how I help people. It sounds confusing like right now, but my whole summary of that, my favorite phrase to say is shifting of stats. That's the simplest way. The hard way that I mentioned is just to make people understand that it is not about priority stats. Because when people think of priority stats, they just think of like they isolate and they focus too much on one slot and trying to perfect that one slot when they have more work to do. So that is my favorite thing to focus on, is helping people understand their gear wherever they are at, whether it's the beginning or whether it's at the end. All right, got to fix this thing. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. For some odd reason, I felt like that 118 was super slow. This is much better. I mean, I didn't really change all that much. And it's not like this map is the ideal map as well. Come on, my pickup radius, just do better. Yeah, these maps are horrible, and I'm glad that they're working on the maps issues next season, because that is really handy to play the other builds that are not S tier or like the top builds, because the map matters in the not top builds. So yeah, this was a minute faster than the last run, and I messed up the focus mine. I've missed my companion, I guess, and I'm not really actually pressing my companion like directly on cooldown. it just felt strange that the last run was it felt slow. That's because I actually don't normally use the armory a lot, and then when I do save over something by mistake, it does cause a lot of those little issues. And that's another reason why I don't use the armory. I prefer like knowing what I changed myself, because in the case where I misclick something and save over, then it's like you end up needing to do it manually anyway. So why not just manual it? Especially the Paragon settings. So let's say you have a support build and you normally change to Vitality on the Paragons, the support. It's not like the Armory saves the Paragon settings. You have to manually switch over. So the Armory, it doesn't actually 100% save time. You still you still have to consider the other part of the time, which is even that few more seconds is what everyone tries to save, right? In between everything, in between all the time that you're saving, every 8 seconds is still time saved. Yeah, see, that was a the previous run it was 524, and then this is 417. So like I said, it's a minute. This is an interesting one. It's not ancient. Whenever it's so cool whenever you see these kinds of amulets, the primary stats, right? So like you love to be able to flex an element. The only sad part is that this is not ancient, and obviously not many people will use it, and that the legendary passive uses vengeance, which is not like the most ideal skill. So that's why nobody uses it. But whenever you see these awesome primaries, you would love to have it on the actual necklace that you're using. And also in the start of the season, if you got this at the start of the season, regardless of the legendary passive, it would still be like a huge boost of damage. It's not because of the green numbers that I'm looking at. It's just the double crit lines is what you want by default on the primary stats. So seeing this just gets me excited about stats in general. But it would be interesting if this actually works. But it's not ancient, so I would have kept it if it was ancient. Just because of this season being able to augment easily, and I have tons of, I have so much that I can augment with. Uh, I mean, 84 divided by 3, but I can augment whatever as long as my regular gems allow me to, right? That I can just grab more from converting these amethysts to emerald, and then I'll have more. But like, if that was an ancient one, I would have augmented it and kept it because it's a elemental trifecta. But I'm glad I got my finally got my seasonal journey done, even though I honestly it's good. And so what am I working on now that I've done my seasonal journey? Well, these gems, these regular gems, you might as well be ranking them up since you're doing GRs anyway. So what I'm working on is getting these to 126 as my last stuff to do for the season. Outside of whenever I want to do more pushing, I can do that as well. Um, but I intend to get these one to 126. Um, the reason is that because I used to hoard ancient items and or like even primals that I didn't augment because they were not the main pushing set. But I did hoard or keep really good ancient or primals. So because they are already in the non-season, and as you're playing your GRs anyway, you have to press 5 times each time upgrading gems. So it's not like you can just go back to town and close it. You have to upgrade gems. So while doing your stuff, and if you have non-seasonal items that are like better than the ones that you recently obtained, yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. Yep. Yeah. So um, Diablo now already is like ever since they launched the PTR, that's when you know that people are also winding down. I mean, people wind down from since the week 2 or whatever, but uh, when PTR launches, that's the trigger where people just start winding down, and when people start winding down, that's when uh, people also play other games, which is why after working on these gems, I'll be going to my other game where I actually play really slowly. So like it actually I mean it's a little too slow, but it lets people experience the game um quest by quest or whatever. But it's not actually like super slow to the point where it's like annoying slow. I still do the main quest like everyone else. So it's really just like 15 to 20 minutes extra. And then obviously the dungeons, I decide to go for other objectives that I want to do personally. So in the sense of dungeons, I do play very slow. But in terms of the main story questing, I think I just do like maybe one or two extra exclamation marks beyond the other things, and then obviously I watch the cinematic or something like that, or like just listen and read some of the things that the conversation of the quest gives. So then that slows it down just that much. But the overall time is about 15 to 20 minutes difference between one person and the other per zone. So when you add that up, it adds up to like a full day. So normally in one full day, a person would have done 10 zones, I would have only done 5 because I enjoy, or I click more exclamation marks than they do. I mean, I see them. It's like it's kind of awkward that you don't press it because you would expect that it is a quest that's in that current zone, unless it just happens to be an extra dungeon that I've actually skipped. So I've skipped like 2 side dungeons that you don't need to do. Well, I guess the Grey Hammer mine is a little on the side. It's like a half. It's like a half side that I did, but I definitely skipped the Sapira cave. That one I didn't do. Um, so like there are some that I actually skipped already, and I saved time that way. So anyway, man, my stomach is not. It's giving me a hard time today again. I guess I need to eat at a regular time. I basically choose to eat like 1 or 2 hours later, and then I mess up the eating schedule, and then yeah. Anyhow, I got my seasonal journey done finally today, so that's one objective down. Those worms in that set dungeon though. I mean, in one way that their timing is, decent, that they don't pop up so fast that you can actually avoid getting hit, getting into melee range or whatever. But on the other hand, they just need to like it's almost like waiting for molten explosions. They just it forces you to be like right on the edge of their detection. And when you want to avoid melee range, you don't want to be assuming that you're standing like right on the edge of their detection zone, which is basically the whole idea of the objective, right? When you want to master it, you don't actually want to be on the edge, but because of the detection range, you need to be on the edge. I know I have the shield. I just get too used to practicing for hardcore or whatever because I've had shields that don't actually work as intended before. So that's why even though I have a shield, I it's muscle memory, or well, I guess visual memory to not stand in explosions. And then another activity I've been doing is I've been watching the World of Warcraft Race to World First. I don't play it anymore, but it's you know, just some events that you should try to catch. It's almost, for example, Olympics. If you're not into sports, that's fine. The only other thing I would say outside of what your interest is, it's not about the interest. It's more about the experience. It's once every 4 years, barring the different seasonal Olympics. You know, like it's an event for your experience. It's not so much whatever sport, whether you like it or not. It's kind of like another thing, right? The comet, let's say, or like some, you know, global event, right? You kind of want to like just have that experience if the event pops up, you know, like I said, the comet thing. If it's like whether it's 60 years or 200 years, you only get it one time. So if it's visibly possible in the situation where it's not cloudy or it's the right time, it's not like in the middle of the night, you know, time zone wise, I guess Olympics is not a good time zone if the Olympics is not in your local time zone and you have other priorities, then fine. But you can still catch every now and then, or even just when you're watching the news, if the news decides to talk about Olympics, you're still watching your regular news, right? So when it talks about the Olympics, then you would just, listen in and get an idea of what the Olympics is, regardless of whether you like sports or not. So it's not about liking the thing, it's more like catching it. It's kind of like watching the news, but getting the event that don't pop up very often. Whereas there's news every day, so it's not like an experience. Oh yeah, I know I have to spend. I was like, there's something that I have to do. 3 of 10. I don't usually use the pair of pants. I'm just thinking if I want to keep one. I'll just hold on to it and compare my non-seasonal, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to balance out these gems so that I don't have too lower ones. Even though I could be working on the 85 faster. Anyhow, I got my seasonal journey done and done some 4-minute ones. Um, I will see you guys later for Lost Ark. Uh, gonna wind down from this one since I got this done, cleared up like everyone else that they cleared this up like within the first week. I just happened to clear it up like right now. Uh, when other people are doing other stuff, this is when I just clean up my seasonal journey. So I got my seasonal journey done.